Hey guys, if your Apple Photos library feels completely out of control, I want to start by saying that it's probably not because you're disorganized. It's because probably you never really showed a system that actually makes sense for the way that your brain works. And that's exactly what this video is about. We're going to go through albums, folders, how they actually relate to each other, and a few different organization systems so you can figure out which one fits your life. By the end of this, you'll have a clear picture of how to set up your library in a way that actually works, and more importantly, that you'll actually maintain. Let's get into it. If you're new here, I'm Nicole, and this channel is all about helping you capture, organize, and actually relive the moments that matter to you. This video is part of my Apple Photos series. I'll link all the other videos in the description if you want to catch up. Okay, so before we get into systems, I want to make sure that we're clear on the difference between albums and folders, because a lot of people don't even know folders exist in Apple Photos. And once you understand how they work together, everything makes a lot more sense. So an album is a collection of photos and videos that you group together. You've probably seen these, maybe you have a few already. But here's the thing, if you have a lot of albums, they can start to feel just as overwhelming as having no organization at all. And that's where folders come in. A folder is basically a container that holds albums. So instead of having 20 albums all sitting at the same level, you can now group related albums together inside a folder. So for example, you might have a folder called 2025. And inside that folder, you'll have albums for each month or each trip or each big event from that year. The folder is the top level and the albums live inside it. And you can nest folders within folders if you like to have it organized that way. But let me show you what this looks like. Quick pause. I actually forgot to include this when I originally filmed this video, and it's way too useful to leave out. But if you're ever looking at a photo and wondering which albums you've already added to it, Apple Photos actually tells you. Just open up the photo, swipe up or tap the info button, and then scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see a section that shows every album that photo belongs to. This is especially helpful when you're reorganizing your library because you don't have to guess whether you've already added a photo to an album or not. Okay, now let's jump back into the walkthrough. All right, so if I open my Photos app, I come to Collections, and then I go to Albums. You'll see that I have my albums organized. These are all folders. So I have like my years, because I like to organize by years. And then I also have some other folders that are not like time-based. You'll see that there's these little icons. This icon is for albums, how many albums are in that folder, and then this is how many folders are in that folder. But if I come in 2025, you can see I have a mix of folders and albums. You can see that it's folders if it has those 4 thumbnails. So I have a folder of Disneyland because I have 3 different albums related to it. But you can come up to the plus and you can do a new album or a new folder. And to add photos to an album, you can do it in multiple ways. So you can do it from an individual photo where you can do the 3 dots and go add to album. And then you can find that album. Or you can do it from the share button and go add to album. Or you can do it from the album itself. So if I'm in an album here, I can do the ... and I can do add photos and then find the photos. And I can add a new album. And let's say I want to add an album of my daughter's birth. So I like the naming convention of the year _month _ event. So I'll click create and I can come in here and I can start adding photos. I can add in these photos and then it will start populating. Now, if I had another album, now I can select, I'm going to hold down on this album and then I'm going to kind of drag it and I can drag it into this album. And then it lets me merge these albums. So then what it's going to do is it's going to merge them into the album that I'm placing them in. So I could then click merge and it's going to put those into that album. You can do this moving albums into folders and all that as well. Maybe I wanted to have things a little bit more detailed and organized. I can create a folder that is Chloe. So I'm going to take this album and I'm going to hold down and then move it into that folder. If I wanted to come in and create a new album that's related to that folder, then I can come in and I can say sisters, create, and then I can come here and I can start adding images of her and her sister. So once you understand the difference between photos and albums, it really helps you to be able to personalize it to how you want to organize your photos and videos. Okay, so now let's talk about the part that actually matters, which is how to decide what your albums and folders should even be. And I want to walk you through 3 different approaches because what works really depends on how your brain works. So the first approach is organizing by time, by year and month. So you'd have a folder for each year, and inside each folder, you'd have albums for each month. So January 2025, February 2025, and so on. This is the simplest system and the lowest maintenance because it's completely predictable. Every photo has an obvious home. The downside is that it's not very searchable by memory. So if you want to find your vacation photos from 5 years ago, you'll have to remember what year and month it is in, which might work for you if you have a really good memory. The second approach is organizing by event or occasion. So instead of months, you'd have albums for specific things like a birthday, a vacation, a holiday, a milestone. This is really intuitive because it mirrors how we actually remember things. We don't think, oh, that was March 2023. Or maybe some of us do, but most likely we might think that was the trip to the coast. The downside is that not every photo fits neatly into an event, so you end up with a lot of random photos that just don't have a home. Now, the third approach is organizing by person. So you'd have an album or folder for each person you photograph a lot. This works really well if you want to be able to pull up all the photos of a specific person quickly, which is something a lot of people want to do and don't realize Apple Photos actually makes it pretty easy with the people feature. The downside is that it can get complicated if the same photo features multiple people. But here's the honest truth. Most people end up using a combination of all three. So I like folder structure by year and then albums by months and by big events within those years. But I also have albums of things that are not time-based, things that cover multiple years. So I might have like an ongoing folder of like, maybe I'm tracking some personal goals of like flexibility, or maybe I'm tracking growth of my kids. And so I'll have those in like an ongoing album. The goal isn't to pick one system and stick to it rigidly. It's to find something that feels logical enough that you'll actually use it. So regardless of which system you use, there are a few specific albums I'd recommend having in your library because they serve a purpose beyond just organization. The first one is a yearly favorites album. So I've mentioned this in a couple of my other videos. I like to keep one called whatever the year is, favorite moments. And throughout the year, I add photos and videos to it that I know that I want to come back to or create like a year-end video. It makes it really easy to find your best moments from the years without having to scroll through everything all at once. And December rolls around and you want to put something together to look back on the year, everything's already there for you. And I don't have to spend hours and days doing it all at once. The second one is a keepsakes album. So this is a place to keep anything that you might want to turn into something later. Maybe a photo book, a framed print, or a gift. It doesn't have to be your absolute favorites. It's just more of a holding place for photos that feel like they deserve to be done something with. I find it really useful to have a dedicated place for these so that they don't get buried. And then obviously event albums for your big moments, vacations, birthdays, holidays, anything significant. These are the ones that are worth the effort of actually curating because you're going to want to go back to them. And remember, if you have albums you access all the time, you can pin them to the top of your collections tab, so they're always one tap away. We covered that in this video of the series, so I won't go too deep on it here, but it's worth doing for the albums that you use the most. Okay, last thing, and I think this is the most important thing I'm going to say in this video. The best organization system is the one that you'll actually maintain. And the most common reason people abandon their system is that they try to do too much at once. So if you have years of photos that are completely unorganized, you do not need to go back and organize all of them before you start. Just start with today. Just set up your albums and folders and start putting new photos in them going forward. Then you can chip away at the backlog slowly over time, maybe a month here, a year there, whatever. But it's progress over perfection. And the habit that makes all of this sustainable in a simply nightly routine of just spending a few minutes at the end of the day or week and going through your photos, favoriting the ones you love and adding them to relevant albums. I did a whole video on that routine and I'll link it in the description too because it's one thing that ties all of this together. The system that you set up today only works if you have a habit that keeps it going. So that's albums, folders, 3 different ways to think about organizing your library, a few specific albums worth having, and how to keep it all from falling apart over time. If this was helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe. This channel is all about helping you capture, organize, and actually relive the moments that matter to you, and there's a lot more coming. Make sure to view the other videos in this series. Those are in the description, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!